Oh, hello. And thank you for joining us on another one of Baby Elias's afternoon time or bedtime stories, depending on where you are. Our next story is also by H.G. Wells, entitled The Island of Doctor Moreau. The Island of Doctor Moreau, 1896, is a science fiction classic exploring the limits of what separates man and beast. There have been 3 major film adaptations. Our favorite starred Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer in 1996. Are you ready, baby Elias? Let's begin, shall we? The Island of Doctor Moreau by H.G. Wells. Introduction. On February the 1st, 1887, the Lady Vane was lost by collision with a derelict when about the latitude 1 degree south and longitude 107 degrees west. On the 5th of January, 1888, that is 11 months and 4 days after, my uncle, Edward Prendick, a private gentleman, who certainly went aboard the Lady Vane at Callao, and who had been considered drowned, was picked up in latitude 5 degrees 3 minutes south and longitude 101 degrees west in a small open boat of which the name was illegible, but which is supposed to have belonged to the missing schooner Ipecacuanha.
Ipecacuanha.
He gave a strange account of himself that he was supposed demented. Subsequently, he alleged that his mind was a blank from the moment of his escape from the Lady Vane. His case was discussed among psychologists at the time as a curious instance of the lapse of memory consequent upon physical and mental stress. The following narrative was found among his papers by the undersigned, his nephew and heir, but unaccompanied by any definite request for publication. The only island known to exist in the region in which my uncle was picked up is Noble's Isle, a small volcanic islet and uninhabited. It was visited in 1891 by HMS Scorpion. A party of sailors then landed, but found nothing living thereon except certain curious white moths, some hogs and rabbits, and some rather peculiar rats. So that this narrative is without confirmation in its most essential particular. With that understood, there seems no harm in putting this strange story before the public in accordance, as I believe, with my uncle's intentions. There is at least this much in its behalf. My uncle passed out of human knowledge about latitude 5 degrees south and longitude 105 degrees east, and reappeared in the same part of the ocean after a space of 11 months. In some way he must have lived during the interval, and it seems that a schooner called the Ipecacuanha, with a drunken captain, John Davies, did start from Africa with a puma and certain other animals aboard in January 1887, that the vessel was well known at several ports in the South Pacific, and that it finally disappeared from those seas with a considerable amount of copra aboard.
Copra.
Copra, dried coconut kernels from which oil is obtained, which a considerable amount of copra aboard, sailing to its unknown fate from Baina in December 1887, a date that tallies entirely with my uncle's story. Charles Edward Prendick. The story written by Edward Prendick.